The United States has suffered through its worst recession in nearly 30 years. The economy shrank 6% a year ago, and capitalism has been getting the lion's share of the blame.
Massive spending by the Obama administration, corporate bailouts for companies deemed too big to fail, and greedy Ponzi schemes have Americans questioning if the U.S. has outgrown capitalism. A year after the stock market crash, capitalism continues to get the blame for causing what may be the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. But authors Steve Forbes and Elizabeth Ames say don't blame capitalism. Blame the bad rap given to capitalism for the world's economic troubles. In their new book, How Capitalism Will Save Us, they say more government is not the answer, that government solutions historically reduce prosperity, lower living standards, and benefit small sectors of society. Instead of catering to the people, government regulations cater to political interest. Ames and Forbes say without free market capitalism, Americans face a new normal, a life without prosperity, fairness, or choice.
Well, Steve Forbes joins us now from New York. Steve, interesting book. I'm not sure about the theological implications of the title, but nevertheless, it's very intriguing. Tell me what's driving this. You talked at length here about Adam Smith and the invisible hand in the marketplace. What about it?
Well, the moral basis of capitalism is that you don't succeed unless you serve the needs and wants of other people. It has to be based in morality, its strong sense of right and wrong, but with sensible rules of the road, allowing free people to take risks, start new businesses, expand existing businesses, come up with new products and services. That's how we move ahead. That's how we get a higher standard of living and more opportunity for more people. If you look at the great economic disasters, including this one, we found that they have government, growing government, intrusive government as the origins, especially the Federal Reserve, which has been on a money printing binge for several years now.
You have a section in here that's very intriguing toward the end of the book. You read it and you think Obama is doing everything that you all said would hurt the economy. How do we dig our way out of this enormous debt hole we're creating?
Well, the only way we're going to dig out of it is, first of all, stop the binge spending. These stimulus plans, Pat, are the equivalent of taking a bucket of water from one end of a pool, pouring it into the next end with a little bit of evaporation in between. Governments do not create wealth. We need a strong and stable dollar instead of the government treating it like a piece of confetti. We need lower tax rates, not higher tax rates. We don't need to nationalize the health care system. We need more patient control of the health care system. No more forced unionization, no more cap and trade, basic things like that, and you'll see the American economy come roaring back.
Well, you know, Congress has just passed a pork-laden bill that has some of the most outrageous items of spending in it, and they're talking about pushing the debt ceiling up to, I think it's $14 trillion. I mean, what about what they're doing? I mean, they just finished doing it yesterday.
Well, that's why the recovery will get some economic growth next year, but it's not going to be the kind of vigorous comeback that we had in the early 1980s when Ronald Reagan killed the great inflation of the 1970s, as we'll recall, and also reduced tax rates, had a strong foreign policy, rebuilt our national defenses, and America surprised the so-called experts by coming back stronger than ever before. So we know what works, and clearly free people and free markets work, not more government takeover. What we see in Washington today is really a form of neo-socialism. They're trying to take over the banks, the auto industry, insurance companies, even banks that don't owe money to the government. They want to now tell them, the Federal Reserve wants to tell them what they can pay people. That's not the way to a true lasting prosperity.
Well, they seem to, they use the term investment as opposed to spending, but they think that taxes, somehow they can tax the rich and we can pay for it. What is the effect of high taxes? You go into it in the book at some length.
Well, high taxes are a price and a burden. Think of it this way. The tax you pay on income is the price you pay for working. Tax on profits, the price you pay for being successful. Tax on capital gains, the price you pay for taking risks that work out. And the idea is a very simple one. When you lower the price of good things like productive work, risk-taking success, you get more of them. Raise the price, you get less of them. And yet they're raising the price, especially this horrible health care bill they're trying to ram through, which will just wreak havoc in health care and in the rest of the economy, especially for small businesses.
There's going to be an election next fall. Have we got enough time, do you think, to right the ship before it runs aground?
I think so. America has always come back from disasters in the past, whether it's the 1930s or the terrible decade, Malaise decade of the 1970s. We do eventually get it right of free people. We do rediscover basic principles, basic values, and get things right. So I think that what you saw this summer with tea parties, with the town hall meetings, what you saw in Virginia and New Jersey, my home state, and the last month's election show the American people instinctively understand something is profoundly wrong here. Things like trashing the dollar. That's like putting too much fuel in a car, wrecking the fuel injector, flooding the engine. Those kind of things never work, and Washington's a slow learner on those things, but the American people, I think, will take action, direct action.
Steve, you've been a voice for reason. We appreciate you, the Forbes magazine, and this, ladies and gentlemen, about capitalism. It's an interesting defense of free market economy and the invisible hand of the consumers, of the many people who make up economic decisions. So, Steve, thank you very much for being with us.
Pat, thank you. Appreciate it.